James Bolam and Rodney Bewes are some of the most reorganized faces in British television. Both have made names for themselves in their own rights, but it was their collaboration in The Likely Lads that cemented their reputation on television. Their on-screen chemistry appealed to viewers, leading to the success of the show. However, both still had some major differences that resulted in an estrangement that lasted decades. These issues arose due to some personal faults and creative differences that they had. Though Bolam tends to downplay this rift that existed between them, certain events appear to say otherwise. Join us as we unravel the reason behind this very unusual estrangement. But first, let's take a look at where they both started. James Bolam was born on June 16, 1935, in Sunderland, County Durham, England. He grew up in the working-class environment of northeast England, developing an early interest in the performing arts. During these lean times, his family encouraged him to pursue his passion, and not only was he demonstrating determination and ambition, but he also had an aptitude for it. Bolam had his education at Bede Grammar School for Boys, where he showed a flair for drama, taking part in school plays and acting his way into his future career. Later, Bolam went to London to study at the prestigious Royal Central School of Speech and Drama, which launched his successful career. Bolam's early career was consumed by theater and television acting. Later, he began attending several repertory theaters throughout the UK to improve his acting skills and to get experience on stage after graduation. It was a very important period in Bolam's life because he was given the best way to build himself as an actor and handle the hitches that live performance brought with it. In the early 1960s, he got small roles in various projects that helped build him. His early work included appearances in such popular series as Z. Carsand Armchair Theatre, showcasing his versatility and range. The cinematic break for Bolam came when he got a chance to play in the 1963 version of The Kitchen, the adaptation of Arnold Wesker's stage play. This film, which focused on life amongst the staff of the kitchen of a busy restaurant, was critically acclaimed and brought Bolam to prominence as a serious actor. He went on to accept many further film and television roles, most of which reinforced his capabilities for portraying several types of characters. Bolam's gruff but accessible persona quickly won him fans, and he was soon a friendly face on British screens. Along with screen work, Bolam continued to forge his reputation in theater, appearing with the National Theatre Company and working with some of the great names in theater directing and acting. This further entrenched him as a serious stage actor. His theater work, while honing his acting talent, gave his performances a depth that was equally plausible on both television and film. The hard work and dedication soon paid off as Bolam began to bag bigger and better roles, securing his position in the industry. During the late 1960s and into the early 1970s, Bolam gained increasing British television recognition for his critical and versatile performances. He was a serious, dramatic actor who reached more people than most performers of the time could. This initiated a long, successful career that would find Bolam eventually securing a reputation as one of Britain's most respected and loved actors, prized for his depth, wit, and naturalistic style. And what about Rodney Bewes? Rodney Bewes was born on November 27, 1937, in Bingley, West Yorkshire, England. He was born into a working-class family, but his early life wasn't without economic challenges. The early years of Bewes were pretty eventful, and due to the nature of his father's job being a milkman, the family had to keep moving around. Very early in his life, Bewes liked to act and found his escape in the performance. He was inspired by cinema performances, and he wanted to be an actor too. By the time he was 12, Bewes, accompanied by his family, had moved to London and began a serious pursuit of life and drama. He attended the Acton County Grammar School, which encouraged him to be involved in various school plays. This was a good start to Bewes's performance, and he immediately noted that he enjoyed it. In his drive to become an actor, he soon gained admission into the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art, RADA, which would afford him the very foundations he would later in his career refer to. Bewes started getting small roles in television series in the late 1950s. He appeared in a string of TV dramas and comedies including Z-Cars and The Army Game. Small as his parts were, they succeeded in making him popular before an enormous audience, and he began to emerge as a bright young promising actor who was dependable. He was earnest and charming, and thus apt both for drama and comedy. His early performances were pleasing to the audience, and Bewes was soon able to prove himself among those actors who could easily present depth in their characterization. Apart from the work he did on the small screen, Bewes tended to feature in a number of significant film roles during this time. He had a small role in the British war movie A Prize of Arms in 1962, and then was cast in the film version of Keith Waterhouse's bestseller Billy Liar in 1963. He had a minor role, however. He had generally good reviews from it, which gave him an opportunity to work with established actors on the set, therefore giving him further insight into the industry. The breakthrough for Bewes came in the mid-1960s when he started picking up more substantial parts in British television. His wit and charm made him a natural fit for comedy, and he started to become a familiar face to audiences. During this time, he also started to gain some attention for his work in theater, which expanded his ability and honed his style. He had that ability to inject humor and warmth into his characters, making them warm and likable to the audience and himself a popular figure. The early successes Bewes experienced with television and film set the pace for an acting career that would stretch over decades. His rise to fame was accompanied by the ability to connect with viewers and dedication to his craft. By the end of the 1960s, Bewes had now firmly established himself as a talented young actor whose bright future was leading the way through many roles and projects that would come to define his later career. At some point in their professional career, both Bolam and Bewes got to work together on one project that marked the peak of their careers. Their performances in the British sitcom The Likely Lads, which had its first broadcast in 1964, earned critical acclaim for both actors. Being one of the new wave of comedy series breaking through in British television history, it concentrated on working-class life in the north of England. The Likely Lads, created by Dick Clement and Ian La Frenais, showed two young men finding their way through life, love, and work in the fictional town of Newcastle upon Tyne. Bolam and Bewes gave their characters just that right amount of humor and realism, which caught on in earnest with audiences and made them household names in the UK. In Likely Lads, Bolam played Terry Collier, humorously quick-witted, somewhat cynical, and with a rougher edge to his manner. Terry was a working-class young man with just a touch of roughness about him, getting into comedic scrapes. His character epitomized the lad of that era. Bolam's Terry had to be sharp in wit and delivery, bringing marvelous dynamics into the show. Terry was rough and tumble, which was in nice contrast to the more aspirational outlook of his friend Bob. Rodney Bewes played Bob Ferris, whose lofty ambitions were at variance with Terry's carefree attitude toward life. Sensitive, polite, and cautious, he frequently strove for self-improvement and upward mobility. Bewes brought much-needed warmth and vulnerability to the part, helping to make Bob relatable and warm to audiences. He represented every man who aspired for a better life while he was rooted in his origins, which appealed to audiences. Part of that appeal was the chemistry between Bolam and Bewes. On screen, they're naturals together, falling into a truly believable dynamic, really recognizable to almost anyone who has ever had friends. Much-needed comic material came from the two contrasting personalities that zipped Terry and Bob through the common trials and tribulations of young adulthood. Despite their contrasts, the two shared a deeper connection underneath which underlined the show's humor with actual moments of affection and loyalty. The series received wide acclaim for the storyline and how well the performances were executed. Bolam's portrayal of Terry and Bewes' portrayal of Bob resonated with audiences across the UK who found the echoes of their own lives in them. The series presented a realistic view in regard to working-class life, which gave it its reputation, along with the humor that was clever and down-to-earth. Bolam and Bewes brought to life the scripts by Clement and La Frenais, as The Likely Lads became a cultural phenomenon, ranking among the most popular sitcoms of its time. The success of the show led to the sequel, Whatever Happened to the Likely Lads, in which Terry and Bob faced their challenges of adulthood and truly cemented the legacy of Bolam and Bewes as two of the true icons of British television comedy. However, despite their marvelous on-screen chemistry, James Bolam and Rodney Bewes had a famously tempestuous relationship off-screen, replete with disagreements and misunderstandings, which finally resulted in their estrangement. While the two actors made the Likely Lads tick with apparently effortless rapport, their personal relationship was a lot more complex. One of the important pivots in their relationship came in the mid-1970s, shortly after the success of the sequel series, Whatever Happened to the Likely Lads. Bewes, open and personable, gave a press interview in which he inadvertently let slip some kind of private detail about Bolam's personal life. He let slip that Bolam was expecting a baby with his wife, a fact Bolam had kept secret and thus did not wish to be let slip. Bolam was an actor who cherished his private life, hence such loose-lipped comments from Bewes infuriated him. Bolam felt he had been very betrayed by this. The two thereafter developed some friction between them, and it made Bolam cut ties with Bewes entirely. Also, the two creatively disagreed on the Likely Lads and its legacy. Bewes was more eager to continue the show, knowing full well that Terry and Bob had much to say and do. Indeed, he felt that with the popularity it enjoyed and the status gained at the heart of British heritage, there was yet some scope for a few future episodes or even a show revival. Bolam was, however, keenly opposed to doing any more sequels and revivals. He felt they had pulled off something special with the Likely Lads, and did not want to compromise its success by continuing the show. Bolam wanted to make sure that integrity and originality were maintained in their work. This difference of vision further stretched the relationship, as Bewes's wish to revive it was in conflict with Bolam's desire to move on. Indeed, Bewes had continued to indicate his interest in revisiting the characters over the years, a stance that has only served to harden Bolam's determination to keep his distance. Thus, their personal and creative differences became more entrenched, and neither appeared ready to make amends. Indeed, the split between them was for decades, and it was only at intervals that Bewes made attempts to reach out, as Bolam kept his distance. Very often, Bewes would sound sad over the break in their friendship. He seemed disappointed that they never got a chance to make amends. He has also mentioned Bolam at times in interviews, and wished out loud many times that that fallout had gone the other way, saying how wrong it all went. Bolam zoned out and never tried reaching out in public to Bewes. The bad relationship between them lasted all the way up to Bewes's death in 2017, as Bolam never reconciled. Bolam was in sorrow at the time of his friend's death, but did not look back on their friendship or what had happened that caused a break between them. For those who enjoyed the long-running show The Likely Lads, this ongoing feud between the actors was a sad reality, far different from the close friendship exhibited by the characters that they loved so much. Since his work on The Likely Lads, James Bolam has enjoyed a long, successful, and varied career to become one of the most respected actors on British television. He easily won his reputation for slipping from drama into comedy, adopting a wide range of parts that really showed his range and depth as an actor. Indeed, it was really after The Likely Lads that his career truly flowered, with him going on to become a household face on British television sets for many years thereafter, and finding critical success along the way. Later in the 1970s, Bolam starred in the BBC series entitled When the Boat Comes In, which was a period drama set in post-World War I England. The show followed the life of Jack Ford, an ex-soldier resourceful and shrewd, who returned to his hometown in the north of England, working to work his way through a society scarred by poverty and political unrest. Bolam was particularly lauded as Jack Ford. He imbued this character with charm, as well as complexity, which then made Ford likable yet somewhat ambiguous. This role brought Bolam great acclaim, and set him as a versatile artist who was ready to handle serious roles with the same passion as his comic ones. When the Boat Comes In became critically popular and stands out as one of the most memorable performances by Bolam. Bolam's next big success came with the title role in Only When I Laugh from 1979 to 1982. Roy Figgis, one of three patients sharing a hospital ward while recuperating from their respective ailments, formed an unlikely alliance that attempted to tackle life with humor. The very high spots of the series were Bolam's great comic timing and his on-screen presence. His performance as Figgis really added another dimension to his career, proving he was able to bring much warmth and humor to what could very easily have been a cynical, if not irritable, character. Only When I Laugh appealed well to audiences and further cemented Bolam's position as a television favorite. Bolam landed another iconic role during the 1990s in the popular series New Tricks, which ran from 2003 to 2015. He played the character Jack Halford, a retired detective who joined together a team of former police officers that solved cold cases. Bolam gave much-needed depth to the tough yet sensitive portrayal of Halford, adding much more depth to his character through personal loss and dedication to justice. It wasn't long before New Tricks started reeling in a lot of success, appealed to all ages, and really promised huge ratings throughout the run. Bolam was also highly praised for his acting. Reviewers remarked that he anchored the show with a character that's got humor, some grit, and even emotional depth. The work he did on New Tricks won him an entirely new generation of fans and proved his adaptability as a television star. Besides television, Bolam has given a lot to theater as well. For years, he was spotted in many stage productions ranging from Shakespearean plays to modern dramaturgy. He showed all his skill and mastery in the craft and was involved with different productions such as Macbeth and King Lear, to name a few, that received critical acclaim. Bolam's work on the stage proved a testament to his craft, as he translated his small-screen grace well onto the live stage, rendering him one of few versatile artists. His intensity and authenticity within these performances marked him as one of Britain's finest actors. Throughout his career, Bolam received numerous awards and accolades. He got the British Comedy Award for Best Actor for Only When I Laugh in 1993, against the background of his work as a comedian. His work on When the Boat Comes In also earned him a BAFTA nomination, showing just how seriously his dramatic work was viewed. Bolam's ability to give weight both to comic and dramatic parts made him a respected figure throughout the profession, one known for his consistency and reliability as a performer. Besides his individual awards, Bolam was also noted as part of an ensemble cast for many of his shows. In particular, his work on New Tricks earned good reviews for the expertise of working alongside other great actors to produce a wonderful and engaging ensemble performance. Bolam had been in the business for over 6 decades. There seemed to be nothing he had undertaken to date in which the commitment to this acting world could not be seen. He was a darling of British television and highly valued for his dedication and artistry in terms of bringing any character to life. The post-Likely Lads career of James Bolam has become a hallmark of versatility, talent, and powerful appeal that has stayed with him. He went through all genres and took on the most recent shapes of television trends without losing touch with his audience. Indeed, Bolam is one of the most accomplished actors to come from Britain, and his legacy did not come by accident, as he represented so many characters that are still very memorable up to date. So, what's your take on the strained relationship between Bolam and Bewes? Let us know in the comments, and we will see you in the next one.